Hello and welcome to my take on The Sims 4 is basically what this is. I've been promising on my blog and on my Facebook page that I would give my opinion in regards to the game instead of typing it all out and making a 3,000 word essay that nobody is going to read anyway. I thought this would be much easier. I'm not so sure because of the problems I've had setting it up. But what you're seeing here is the neighborhood screen when you first go into the game. And if these neighborhoods look a little small, well, that's because they are. You do get two different worlds that you can play in. Uh, but you can travel to both worlds, so that's a plus. I mean, it's not really as small exactly as it looks. Here you'll see my sim on the bottom right-hand corner. His name is Biff Bumstead, and that's just a name I came up with at the top of my head. I think the Biff part came from the character in Back to the Future, and the Bumstead came from the Bumsteads and Blondie and Dagwood, who most of you playing this game probably don't even know who they are. But old people like me will certainly remember. And what you're also going to get in the Sims 4 is a lot of loading screens, and here is one of them. Although they're not nearly as bad as I thought they would be. Uh, since I went into a saved game, we're going right into gameplay, and I left Biff. He was out trying to court Bella Goth, who is married to Mortimer Goff and has two kids, Cassandra and I forget the other kid's name. But I wanted a little bit of a challenge right from the start, so I thought it would be challenging for my sim, Biff, to uh, court Bella and try to get her to leave Mortimer. And right now it's pretty slow going, unlike in the other Sims editions like 3 and 2. Really doing something like that wasn't terribly difficult. But what I'm finding out in Sims 4 is it's much more of a challenge, unless, of course, you put in mods later on, which make it easier. But just playing the game right out of the box, it was pretty much a challenge. And right here, when he's supposed to be courting Bella, he drops to the ground and does push-ups. And this is an annoying thing that happens all the time if your sim has the right aspirations. So they go inside the museum and they talk. They've been talking forever before you even saw any of this. I've had them working on their relationship forever, it seems like. But real quickly, what you want to notice is that you're going to have two bars. You're going to have a upper bar and a lower bar. The upper bar is their friendship, regular friendship, which will be green. Their lower friendship bar, and it's also at the top of the screen since that's who he's mingling with is Bella. You'll see a pink bar, and right now the pink bar I think is kind of empty. But as they develop their relationship, you'll see the pink bar start to fill up. If there's no pink in that bar, I'm telling you, you're gonna have don't try any romantic aspirations at all. Even though when you click on your choices, it's going to show some pink on some of the choices. Doesn't matter. That was one of the reasons that this took me so long. It's because I would click on some things and Bella was having none of it, and then she would try something with him and he would have none of it. So they give you a lot more choices, or at least it seems so, right off the bat than what you had in Sims 2 and Sims 3 as far as interactions go, or at least in the base game. Yes, you got more as you added expansion packs. So after the museum, we went to the health spa and not health spa, gymnasium, and you can see Biff working out on one of the items there, a punching bag. Bella was working out on her own because I still had no control over anything she did, and she used up her cleanliness motive and then had to go up to take a shower. And with about 3 or 4 showers up there, and all of them empty except one. Which one does she choose? She chooses the one that's occupied. So much for smarter Sims. She was not too smart. So I had already had Biff going to do some interaction with her, and he hunted her down, and she was up there trying to get in the shower with another Sim in there. And so they both ended up in this same little compartment there next to the shower, and you can't see the guy in the shower. And I don't know who the girl is, but apparently she can walk through walls, so she may be some magical, mystical figure. But just one of them things, and Sometimes they appear to be smarter and sometimes not. In this case, they're just the same dumb Sims. But it's kind of funny in a way, you know. Those things have come, they go with the territory more or less. Anybody thinks they're all going to be fixed. This is a EA we're talking about, and this is a Sims game. So you just learn to live with those things. Sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're annoying. You just roll with the punches. And as we can see, their relationship is really starting to develop. I think you'll see them have their first kiss here, or maybe they already had the first one and this is their second. I can't remember. At times I would forget to record the thing, and as you can see, they're going quite a way. So he's starting to be quite successful at getting her to leave her family. I know that's a mean thing to do, have her leave Mortimer and her kids, but like I said, I wanted a challenge, and so he's going to ask her to move in, I think. I can't tell for sure, but she does move in with him here in just a minute. And they give you a choice. I don't know if I got it on the video or not. Probably not. But they do give you a choice as to whether it's just going to be her, or is it going to be her and Mortimer? Well, no, it's not going to be Mortimer. That's defeating my whole purpose. Or the kids. Now, I thought about bringing the kids over, and this is pretty much like the other Sims games, but I decided against it for right now because Biff, the house is too small that they're living in, and I wanted to rebuild that house, and we're going to see that in another video as soon as I get time to do the voiceover, which shouldn't be too long. So when she moves in, she's still married to Mortimer Goff when she moves in, and I just have her leave the kids and the family behind. But the thing is, you're looking at these community lots and saying, well, what else is there to do? Well, there's not a lot to do in these towns as far as your community lots. You have parks, you have the gymnasium, a couple nightclubs, and the museum, and that's it. And here you can see the choices, and you'll see where I debated bringing the kids right now, and I thought I would do that later. Because I didn't want to overburden myself, really, is what it was with. I'm just learning to play the game, just like most people are, and so I didn't want to overtax myself trying to keep track of all those Sims. Plus, like I said, the house is small, and I really wanted them to have a full relationship before the kids moved in. So I ended up leaving them behind, and she moved in. But getting back to the lots, there's really not a lot to do in the town. And what the lots they have, there's not much in them. The gymnasium's about like all the other gymnasiums they've had, and the bars are really, there's not a lot to do in the bars either, except sit around and talk to a bunch of other Sims. But that's one thing is, I found there's a lot more Sims on the community lots, and they will flock around you, and you can develop acquaintances. And I haven't developed any other friendships besides Bella because you have to spend a lot of time developing these friendships, and maybe a little bit too much time. But so there's really probably should have been more to do in these towns than there is, and but we'll try to get into that more when I do the next video, which I'll explain here before we go off. But now that they're in the house, I wanted to try to get them to at least woohoo before moving to the next stage, and that's what they'll be working on. And every once in a while when things change like that, that's how you save your game. You want to save your game because you never know what's going to happen, whether something bad's going to happen or if the game is just going to have a glitch and crash. And I think I've had one crash since I got the game, but it was probably my fault because I had this video recording program running at the time instead of using the in-game recorder, and it may have been what caused the crash. So you can see the inside of this house, and there's not much in it. It was a cheap house, And later on, I went and to rebuild it. So when I get to that, we'll talk about that. A little bit more about comparing The Sims 4 to The Sims 3 is, yeah, the world just seems smaller without the open world, but it doesn't come with all the baggage that The Sims 3 did. The problem I had with The Sims 3 was, even though there was an open world, with each expansion pack, you practically had to start a new game in another world. Not all of them, because some of them, like Generations and some others, you could incorporate into the town you were playing. World Adventures, World Adventures tried it, and it was so glitch ridden. And unlike the vacation pack in Sims 2, it was difficult to interact with the people when you went on world adventures in those lands. You couldn't bring them home, you couldn't marry them without causing a big headache in your game. Eventually, there were mods to straighten that out somewhat. Twalin had a mod where you could even live in like China if you wanted to, or France, or wherever it was your pleasure. I didn't really care for it, and by the end, most people had forgotten all about it because there just wasn't nothing that once you went into World Adventures and solved the adventures, there was nothing else to do. You couldn't interact with the people that lived there very well. You couldn't live there without the mods, and the same was with the late night one. It came with a downtown, yeah, but you couldn't. It wasn't integrated into the neighborhood you were already playing. If you wanted downtown items in the neighborhood you had already been playing, you had to remodel your neighborhood, and sometimes that would be quite difficult because of the limitations of the lot. So that was a big problem with me for Sims 3, is the way these expansion packs never, some of them did not uh, join well with the rest of the game, and it was if you unless you wanted to start over in another neighborhood or rebuild your neighborhood. Unlike Sims 2, yeah, you had loading screens, but when you had the nightlife, your sim could go downtown and come back home, and you didn't have to start a new world. Same way with the Sims 2 University. In Sims 2 University, when your sim would go off to college, they could visit the downtown area expansion pack, or they could even go home for a visit if if they so desired, or your family could visit you on campus, and you couldn't do any of that in Sims 3, and it just distanced yourself from the rest of the neighborhood. So, despite having this magnificent open world that everybody's talking about, you were still confined a great deal by that open world. What you wanted to do had to be done in that open world. Uh, so you either had to rebuild it or you had to start over with some of these expansion packs like late night. My point being is they made those expansion packs in such a way that you could not really explore the way you could in The Sims 2. Yes, no loading screens, but the world wasn't as big as it always seemed, just like Supernatural. Most of the You could incorporate that stuff into the town you were playing, but you couldn't get full use of it unless you moved to the new town that came with it. And so there were a lot of faults with The Sims 3, and as the game went on, it got glitchier and glitchier and glitchier. So I wasn't ever completely enamored of Sims 3. I liked the open world to some extent, but I never thought the Sims were really related to the other Sims as well as they did in Sims 2. They weren't as, I don't even know for sure what I'm exactly trying to say here. They weren't, their personal relationships did not intertwine quite as well. They seemed almost remote and withdrawn from what was going on around them a good deal of the time in Sims 3. And so far from what I've played in Sims 2, it seems to be quite an improvement. So even though, if you look at the screen and see how long it's taken Biff to get to where he wants to be with Bella, you can tell just by looking that the interactions are a great deal better than what they were in Sims 3 at this stage of the game, especially for being a base game. This is just the relationships are a lot better. The interaction between the Sims is a lot better. Now, whether the promise of this is going to be fulfilled, we won't know unless they release some expansion packs. Um, Now, as far as like careers are concerned, they're a strange mix in this game. Biff is a painter. I had him in that career because he's supposed to be artistic, but it's not easy getting promotions right now in the game at all. And it doesn't seem like you're ever going to get ahead because he's been working this job for quite a while and his finances aren't really all that great. I'm not uh, I'm not sure that the jobs are a big plus in this game. You go off the screen, you go to your job, everything fast speeds up, you come back home, you can't see the building they go into. I mean, people were complaining. It's funny because people were complaining in Sims 3 that you couldn't see what goes on in the buildings. Well, at least they had the buildings. In Sims 2, they don't even have the buildings, which yeah, I suppose you can live without, but it was a nice touch, and especially since they don't have to do anything in those buildings, you think they could have just thrown them in anyway. But they didn't because of what I said earlier that quite possibly this game was rushed out. Now, if you've been watching the screen, you can see I've been trying to get Biff and Bella to woohoo, and eventually they did, but I didn't get it recorded, at least not that time. Maybe I can throw it up on the next video I do. I'll have a lot more to say about the game because I've got another video that'll be coming up in the build mode so you can see somewhat what the build mode is like. And I'll have quite a bit to say about that. And here is your sim library. When there's an icon at the top, you click it and it brings out your library, and then you can download stuff from the exchange, if you want to call it that, and drop the things right into your game. There's different categories you can filter through to find what you're looking for, whether they be Sims or whether they be houses or clothing or just whatever it'll be. Although the only customized clothing I've seen so far has been on Mod The Sims. If there's a house you want to download, you can take a closer look at it. But I put these up here just so you can give some idea of what the exploring library and your connection with Origin will be, which is how you're going to download your things from the community. And buy stuff, probably, eventually. I'm sure they're going to have that. And this is a shot of Biff's house, and I put this on here at the end because we're going to remodel it in the next video and see what we can do with it to make it more inhabitable. And so you might want to look forward to that. Now, is this game worth $60 or more? No, it's not worth $60. It's not a bad game. It's just for everything they kept out of it, and for what you're getting, it's at most a $40 game. But there's a reason why they probably, other than greed, which I'm always accusing them of, there's another technical reason why they have to charge it. And I don't know if anybody's mentioned it, but when you figure it out, they're going to want to charge maximum price for any downloads or custom content or microtransactions, and for the expansion packs. Well, if they start the base game out at $40, the only way they can go is to go down. So even though most reviews say the game has great possibilities, but $60 is too much, you should wait for a sale. I agree with that. But they have to charge at least that for the base game, so they can get maximum dinero out of you later. I'll have a lot more to say about the game when we look at the build mode in my next video. I hope just watching this and seeing what was going on gave you some ideas as to whether you want the game or not. I'm sure I rattled on quite a bit, but for my first time, not too bad. We'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for listening.